Hello everyone and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. In today's video, we're going to deep dive into the important legal case, Kristen Ruppen versus Portfolio Recovery Associates. This case sheds light on debt collection practices and consumer rights under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act, otherwise known as Fdcpa. So let's get started. Hey, I wanted to jump in right now and tell you guys not to forget down below to check out my free letter bundle. You'll get 4 letters absolutely free to help you on your credit journey. There's a pay to delete, a goodwill letter, a cease and desist letter, as well as a debt validation letter. That's to help you out on your journey. Be sure to check that out in the description down below. The case we are analyzing today is Kristen Ruppen versus Portfolio Recovery Associates, which was heard in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Ohio, Eastern Division. The case number is 221CV04896. Now, here's some background on the case. Kristen Ruppen, our plaintiff, filed a lawsuit against Portfolio Recovery Associates, also known as PRA. Ruppen alleged that PRA violated the Fdcpa, which is designed to protect consumers from unfair and abusive debt collection practices. So let's talk the key legal issues in play. Ruppen's main complaints were: number one, PRA allegedly failed to accurately report the status of the debt that she had previously disputed. And then number two, PRA continued to attempt collections on this disputed debt without properly verifying it, which she claimed was a violation of the Fdcpa. Now, on the flip side, PRA argued that their reporting was accurate and aligned with the obligations under the Fdcpa. They also claimed that any errors made were bona fide mistakes and that they had reasonable procedures in place to prevent such errors. So now let's look at what happened during the court proceedings. Both parties engaged in a series of motions and filings. PRA likely filed motions to dismiss or for a summary judgment, arguing that Ruppen's claim lacked sufficient legal basis. During the discovery phase, various pieces of evidence and dispositions were scrutinized. For instance, PRA would have presented their procedures and records to prove compliance with the Fdcpa and to suggest that any errors were unintentional, which is key, unintentional. One significant event worth mentioning is the court's evaluation of the summary of motion. So what was the outcome? The court ultimately granted summary judgment in favor of Portfolio Recovery Associates. This means that the judge found there was no need for a trial because the evidence overwhelmingly supported PRA's case. The court concluded that PRA did not violate the Fdcpa as Kristen Ruppen had alleged. The judge's reasoning was based on the evidence showing that PRA had indeed followed reasonable procedure and any inaccuracies were not intentionally violations of the Fdcpa. Now let's talk the impact of the case. Legally, this ruling reinforced the requirement that plaintiffs under the Fdcpa must provide substantial evidence of violations. It also underscores the importance for debt collectors to maintain accurate records and demonstrate adherence to lawful procedures. This case highlights for consumers the challenges in providing Fdcpa violations and stresses the importance of a thorough documentation when disputing debts. For debt collectors, it is a reminder to have a stringent and documented process to avoid unintentional errors. The key precedent set this case is the reaffirmations of the bona fide error defense under the Fdcpa, which is key here, right? Which protects debt collectors from liability for unintentional errors. Reasonable procedures are in place. To summarize, the case of Kristen Ruppen versus Portfolio Recovery Associates was a pivotal moment in the ongoing dialogue about debt collection practices and consumer practices. The court's decision to rule in favor of PRA indicates the high standards of proof required for the Fdcpa claims and highlights the legal proceedings in place for collectors who follow proper procedures. One of the things you guys have to understand here, and I'm guessing, right, when the plaintiff was presenting their information and they were disputing the status of an account, I'm guessing that they were doing a factual dispute. The status of the actual debt probably wasn't the same across the board on all three credit bureaus. It's one of the things that I teach with regards to factual disputing. It's the most oldest, and the most, I would say, successful way to dispute accounts off of your credit profile. Understand, when you're sending that information out, when you're making those disputes to the credit bureaus as well as to the collection agencies, number one, you gotta make copies of all the documentation that you're sending out. When you send a letter out to the credit bureaus or to a collection agency, make a copy of it. Number two, when you're actually mailing out that letter, don't send it regular mail. I don't even recommend emailing it, because with an email, you can't verify that they got it. And when I worked in debt collections, with regular mail, it's your word against the debt collection agency. And if they say that they didn't receive it and you don't have any proof, then they can state that they didn't receive it. That's why it's important that you certify mail it. Then you get a 16-digit tracking number as a receipt, and you can check when that document was actually delivered to the company. Now, the key thing is the bona fide error defense under the Fdcpa, which protects debt collectors from liability for unintentional errors. They can make mistakes and errors with regards to your credit report. But when you actually have them check those errors, when you actually call them out on those errors, if they don't fix those errors, which a lot of collection agencies don't, you got to have the proper documentation. My question to you is, what do you think about the court's decision? Do you agree or do you disagree with the outcome? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it informative, and subscribe to Ask a Debt Collector for more content on legal cases and consumer rights. Until next time, stay informed and stay protected. I will put a copy of this actual case in the description below. Thanks a lot, and as always, you be great.